Funny.
All right, well, it's 8:01. We can restart the meeting here. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulties here. But welcome everybody to October's Project Wildfire meeting. I was just noting that the agenda in the email was linked to September's agenda actually, but the description was in the email. We're going to do a quick run through of and review of looking back on the fire season as we're coming to a close with the turn of weather. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Boone. And before I do that, just thanks everybody for introducing yourself in the chat. We won't take time to go around and do introductions, but we will have a round table later. But for our purposes of our notes, if you could introduce yourself in the chat, we'd appreciate it. And with that, I'll turn it over to Boone to give us a quick update on the program of work for Project Wildfire.
Okay. So the big one that's top on our list right now is we got Fire Free, the fall half price event is happening. So we put that in the, it was kind of a little bit last minute anyway, as far as getting the dates out there, but the dates got settled and we're looking at October 30th through November 6th. And I want to remind everybody, because I get lots of questions about this every year, but that's put on by Deschutes Recycling, which is part of Republic Services. So that's not Deschutes County putting that on like the spring one. The spring one, that's us taking, the county taking all of the debris and using all of it. But this is through Deschutes Recycling, so it's a half price. And the only location that they operate out of is right there at Not Landfill. So if you're outside of that area, my apologies. Don't call me and tell me how you wish it was somewhere else, and that it's my fault that it's not in your area. I do get those phone calls. Actually, this year I haven't so much. But last year I got lots of them. But awesome opportunity again. Of course, as we're going into fall, it's kind of we're not really thinking about the fire season ahead as much as we're looking at the stuff that's coming down from our trees that's going to contribute to that hazard next year. So. Good opportunity to take care of that stuff and get rid of it. Again, October 30th through November 6th. The Greater Bend CWPP, we've been talking about that all year. It seems like every month I have some kind of an update as we're inching along, but we did get that in front of the Board of County Commissioners. So commissioners, thank you guys for taking a look at that and signing it and being prompt with it. I'm sending that around for signatures. Right now it's out to the city. So hopefully we get Mayor Russell's signature on that, and that should be coming back to us, and then I'll continue it on its journey through all the signatures. So if you see that come to you, be sure to sign and then get that right back to me so I can keep it moving on its way. But that should be, I would think, within this week or next week, we should get most all those signatures and be done with that. And then next up after the Bend CWPP will be the Greater Redmond CWPP. So Chief Kim, I'll be coming around talking with you as well as we begin to coordinate that process. And then Firewise Recognition this year, as I keep joking around that it was a tidal wave of communities, which it was and still continues to be. But we just since our last meeting, we had several communities come through, and some of them were quite fast at getting all the pieces put together because they've been doing work all summer long or all year for the most part. But they've checked those boxes. So Black Butte Ranch. I don't believe anyone from Black Butte Ranch is on today, but Black Butte Ranch decided to go through the Firewise process as well, which is pretty awesome. We've talked about it amongst ourselves before that they weren't doing it, and not in a bad way, but just kind of more of a surprise that they weren't doing it because they're already doing all the things that would check the boxes to make them Firewise recognized. And then when we had a sit down talk with them, myself and Ross Huffman from ODF, but Ross talked with Kathy out there and kind of talked through the process, what it is and what it takes to become Firewise, and they were quick to realize that they easily checked those boxes and they should be doing it because there's quite a few benefits that come along with it, and I'm sure everybody on the call that's in a Firewise community definitely appreciates those benefits, whether it's grant funding or building that sense of community within your neighborhood. Elki Village Fractional, it's an interesting name, but up at Widgie Creek, one of the communities there is their HOA is called Elki Village Fractional. they just came on board. I think there's 4 communities there at Widgie Creek, and all of them are in process of becoming Firewise. And Elkhart Village Fraction was the first one of that group. So we've been working with each of those individually and all together at once. We've held some different get-togethers with them. So they're moving through. Forest River Acres down out of Sun River. They're on the west side of the river out there. They just became Firewise. They've been doing quite a bit of work already and were pretty active. And then they found out about the Firewise and realized that they fit the bill of that quite easily. And they've got a lot of momentum, which is pretty awesome to see. So as soon as we talked to them about what Firewise was and the benefits, they jumped right on board and did it. And then the last one that I have on there is the Cliffs. And I couldn't remember if it was right before our last meeting or in between the 2 meetings. I'd have to look at the date of when they actually became Firewise recognized. They've been in process for a while, but Chief Kimna and I had gone out and talked with them and discussed Firewise and defensible space, and they continued to ride down that path and became Firewise recognized. So 4 new communities in the last month. Pretty awesome. You know, some of the years in the past, we've only got 4 communities throughout the whole year, and sometimes not even that many. So 4 within a month, which is pretty awesome. And looking at the progression of the rest of the communities that we've been tracking along, we've got several that should be coming through in the next month or 2. We still probably have at least 10 more that are somewhere in that process, probably a little over 10 right now that are working their way through. But Firewise has been a big rock this year, kind of taking up a lot of capacity. So I think that's what I've got. If there's any, before I jump to anything next, is there any questions of something that we've been working on that I'm missing that we need to address? Okay, hearing none. Ed, I thought if you wanted to discuss the Firewise grants and stuff, kind of tying that piece together.
Yeah, just real briefly before we get into our main presentation, I just wanted to let everybody here on the steering committee know that you may recall mentions from the last meeting or 2 that the Board of Commissioners dedicated $100,000 of discretionary lottery funds to fuel reduction grants. Those closed on September 30th. We got a great response of communities requesting funds for a lot of good work. We had 34 communities that requested funds to the amount of just over $158,000. So we did have some choices to make in who received funding at what level. We got together as a small group and applied some criteria and scored those and did award the full amount of funds. So if you applied for funds and haven't heard from me, either check your inbox or get a hold of me after the meeting, and we can talk about next steps. But a lot of those projects are planned for the spring, but this gives people time to make those plans and secure contractors and plan for outreach and those sorts of things. So should be a lot of good work happening in the communities, and we'll probably circle back around once those start to get completed and maybe hear from a few of those communities about what they got done. So just want to let everybody know of the great response this year on that.
Yeah, I got one that's unrelated to grants, but something that I think I've talked to everybody on this call at some point of a one-off, because everybody's always curious of it. And we're always trying to identify folks from insurance agencies to come to our meetings. So I've got one more, I got another line I'm going down right now, connected with another agent here locally. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to pull them in as well to our group, if not being on the steering committee, but at least to participate, kind of see what we're talking about and be part of the conversation. They seemed quite interested in it, and that was a few days back, and I see they didn't show up today, but I'm hoping I can still rein them in.
All right, great. Any questions for Boone before we move on to the main presentation? Okay, with that, we want to have Kevin go first, Boone, or is there flip a coin?
Yeah, Gordon and I already did that, so I think I
Okay.
lost on that one. Yeah.
Okay. Losing
Yeah.
means you get to go first, or
Yeah, we'll see how my screen sharing goes. I'm just going to throw up. Oh,
Boone's going to have
because
to
you're sharing.
sharing, and we'll get that up and running. Just for a real brief introduction, we asked both Kevin Stock with Central Oregon Fire Management Services, representing Forest Service and BLM, along with Gordon Foster with the Oregon Department of Forestry, to give us just a short rundown of fire season as we're moving here into the fall. So thanks for joining us, Kevin and Gordon, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Just wanted to throw this up. Of course, the picture goes right where I need it. Okay. Just wanted to throw this up, kind of showing the average of what we have in Kaufman. And this really is not just Kaufman, it's everything that's dispatched out of Central Oregon, which most of you guys are aware is a pretty big piece of ground. Basically Columbia River down to Fort Rock, out east to, Glass Butte country and Dayville, and then west to the crest, excluding Warren Springs and the Dalles unit stuff. So anyways, quite a big piece of ground, but our average total fires over a 10-year period is 372 fires, and our average acres for that time period 64,900. So how did 2021 stack up? Man, again, my window is not working out good. So we had 297 fires, which is down considerably, and almost a third. And then we had 9,000 acres, which, considering the conditions we were in, is pretty darn good. Considering that our average again is somewhere around 65,000 acres over the 10-year average. Some highlights of the season for us, obviously we were in exceptional drought. Most of the area was in exceptional or extreme drought. We did not get a lot of snow. We didn't get a lot of rain before we got snow. When the snow melted off of the lowlands, it was immediately dry, and I think we had our first over 100-acre fire was there at the end of March. So the season was long, and with COVID and stuff, we had a little bit of a damp down on our prescribed burning stuff, but we also really didn't have a lot of good conditions for a ton of it because of how dry we were. We only had one major lightning bust, and that was towards the early part of July, end of June. Kept us pretty busy in Central Oregon, and it luckily started off with just a few strikes and kind of let us see what we were in for as far as fire behavior wise. And we recognized really quick that we were a little bit outgunned, if you will, on our normal initial attack forces. If we were to rely on just what we normally have around, if things got going on us, if we have one or two starts get going, we would be in serious trouble. So we made a decision, I think it was towards the end of June, to keep basically an extra task force of resources out at Deschutes County Fairgrounds, and we were able to keep that throughout the summer as basically our type 3 starter kit. So that helped a lot for us. I would say the other big thing we had was that heat dome around that same time, and that's where we had most of our IA. If you think about that, was the rattlesnake fire that came off of Warren Springs onto BLM. And we had a lot of fires out on the Ochoco and Prattville BLM grounds. And that's also kind of when the Grandview fire started. So all kind of in that area. I guess the question is why did we end up coming out so well compared to our neighbors around us, right? Because there was large fire all the way around us. The takeaways for me was we didn't have much lightning, and lightning tends to start in places that are really inconvenient for initial attack. It means that it starts way up from roads up on inaccessible ground, and we didn't have really any of that stuff. We didn't have that many high country fires that require hike-ins or aerial delivered firefighters. Most of our stuff was what I call industrial firefighting, which means that we got starts down where we could get resources onto them quickly. Our human starts were down, even though they're high. They're up over the average, but they were down over last year. And I think part of that, especially the size of those fires, part of that was the aggressive use of public use restrictions, which we went into early again. Seeing the drought, seeing the condition of our fires, I think we went into full PURs quicker than any time I can remember, and shut down even campfires within campgrounds, which isn't a large starting place for us. It's just we knew that we could not afford really to have any starts because any start was going to push us. We did, like I said, we had those extra resources, and we had aggressive IA. We usually have aggressive IA, but again, with the extra resources, we were able to really focus stuff. And we also used a lot of aircraft this year. That was contributed to our success. And then the other part is luck, right? We had those lightning strikes, and I think the efficiency of our lightning was that it was very efficient, which means if you got a strike, you got a fire. We just didn't get much. And again, where we got them, we're in good spots. So I put this up, that's Central Oregon season, which means that we did pretty good at home, but I mentioned that the rest of the area was pretty busy. So the rest of the region, and I put this up, this kind of shows, doesn't really show it real well, but this line right here is the average line of days that we're up in the preparedness levels in the Northwest region, which is Oregon and Washington, all fire units in Northwest region. This year we broke a record for the most amount of days in PL5, our highest preparedness level. That means that we were basically running all summer without any incident management teams in the region. They were all committed, basically from the end of June all the way through till the middle to late part of September. We were in constant large fire mode within the region, and it just kind of moved around on us. We had Grandview here, but at that same time we had my team was on Cedar Creek and Cub Creek 2 up in Washington. There was large fires on the Colville. There was large fires on the western part of Oregon, on the Willamette and the Umpqua, and towards the late season down there on, obviously all season long, on the Fremont Wainema with Bootleg and some of the other large fires they had down there, including Cougar Peak. So just really showed that, again, it's good to be good and it's good to be lucky. And I think we were a little bit of both as far as locally. But the fact that our neighbors had starts go from Cougar Peak went to 90,000 in 3 burn periods. And that's just to the south of us. That just kind of shows the potential that we had, that we were lucky that we didn't get. And again, I think the second largest fire in Oregon history, Bootleg, was again just to the south of us. Same drought pattern as southern Deschutes County, northern Klamath County. So again, we really dodged a bullet when it comes to that. And that's all I have, and I'll kind of kick it over to Gordon to see if he wants to answer anything, especially the question from Patty about the Grandview fire.
Yeah, and I'll get to that, I guess, in a second, but I just wanted to kind of cover a little bit. Share my screen here. haven't done this on Zoom before yet, so. So hopefully, hopefully everybody can see this chart, the energy release component. So this is a kind of give you a basis and just kind of a general overview. This chart actually helps us, you know, kind of determine where our adjective rating is, our fire danger for the time of year. And I just want to really kind of point out, normally we don't start tracking this until May 1st. But as you can see, the red line is actually 2021 data. The blue line is 2020 data, and then the dark gray line is the average, and then the lighter gray line above that is, you know, the highs or the maximums that we've reached before. So as you can see, starting on May 1st, as Kevin talked about, we were in extreme drought. We were setting record ERCs for that time of year. And so we were actually hitting moderate fire danger, which is this blue line, on May 1st. So the yellow line is high fire danger, and then the red line or orange line is the extreme fire danger. So as we move throughout the year, you can see, you know, around May 12th, May 13th, we were up in the high fire danger. And that's when we actually went into fire season, was May 15th this year on the Prineville Sisters unit. Then throughout the, when we hit June, you know, we got a little bit of reprieve. And then around June 1st, you know, started climbing back up towards extreme. We went into regulated use closure on June 24th, which is primarily regulating campfires, mowing of dry grass, chainsaw use, and those kinds of things, fireworks, etc. So June 30th, we put into effect industrial fire restrictions, additional restrictions for industrial operators on June 30th, or yeah, June 30th. So, you know, we were setting record ERCs throughout most of the summer. There's a few dips. And as we moved into, you know, the end of June, we were setting record ERCs throughout the year. So it's pretty, you know, intense fire season, I would say. So kind of to give you a little bit of the stats, just for the sisters side of the unit, which is primarily Deschutes County, a little bit of Western Jefferson County, but we had 31 fire starts that occurred, and you know, the biggest of those was the Grandview fire that started on July 11th. Was 4,760 acres, 68 acres. You know, that was probably the start, you know, of our large fires. But we did, prior to fire season, did have the Bull Springs fire that occurred on March 28th, as Kevin had talked about. You know, and that was 211 acres. That was caused by debris burning and some high winds that came in. So fire season really started for us, in my mind, on March 28th. Pretty significant start to the season. So we had, I think couple of things, we had quite a significant human starts, but a lot of those human starts normally are pre-fire season. Debris burning, those kinds of things that happen. And that was the majority of our fire starts. On just kind of the human caused fires overall in general, were 71% of our fires for this year, which is pretty significant. So we had the Grandview fire. and then on July 11th, and then the Darlene fire on July 13th, burned 686 acres down in the Pine. So it was a pretty busy start to July, and then things kind of evened out, mellowed out for us. Overall, you know, we as things kind of calmed down, you know, we reduced our additional restrictions on September 14th as fire season kind of started slowing down. We terminated our regulated use closures on October 1st, and then just finally terminated fire season on October 16th. As you can see, you know, by the chart here, you know, we're sitting here. October 17th was the last recorded indices on the chart. We're still sitting in between moderate and high fire danger. So we're really not out of the woods yet until we get some significant rain. Overall, locally on the unit here, we spent 155 days in fire season, which is a fairly long time. And another note, I think May 15th, the beginning of fire season was probably, I think the earliest we've gone into fire season as a district and a unit in over 40 years. So it's, you know, it was a pretty significant year for everybody. So that's mostly what I have. And, you know, I think I stopped sharing, maybe. No?
Nope, not yet.
I'm still here.
Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Got to find the right button. You know, I think the question came up, you know, the cause of the Grandview fire. You know, I can say that we have ruled out lightning as a cause for the Grandview fire. It is still under investigation. Our investigator will be finalizing that investigation report hopefully soon, and then we'll get that updated. So if there's any other questions out there, either for Kevin or I think you can go ahead and shoot.
I got one if nobody's got one yet. GR, you know, did you guys pull in additional staffing as well this summer? I'm sure you did, but just as the early season like ramped up right away, it's kind of curious what you guys were, what you did.
So yeah, you know, we actually, as most folks probably know by now, with we got some extra funding from the E-Board, which gave us an opportunity to bring on staffing earlier this year than we have in the past. So we had, I think, about 10 extra firefighters that came on early season in May for us. So they were funded by the E-Board. You know, we do bring on severity resources. So we had some additional aircraft here, which has been here for the past 4 to 5 years. We had two seats that sit in Prineville and work off the unit here, plus some additional aircraft across the district. We do at times we bring in extra staffing, but it's on an as needed basis. We'll bring in strike teams of engines and those types of things. But there was nothing real specific this year. We just didn't have. Normally we'll bring on extra resources when we have lightning events, and the lightning events didn't really occur that often this year.
Yeah. Thanks.
One thing I'd say on that, Ben, is, you know, again, because we don't really care whose property it is when we initial attack it, we had most, you know, we had extra staffing in at the fairgrounds, and it was for everybody, you know, and the way our rollouts go, it really doesn't matter what agency, and And I would say, ODF's ability to pull stuff in from the other units was probably limited kind of by the fact that the other units are way busier than we were on the home ground. We were busy during that late June, early July piece. We were the busiest place in the region. We were getting all the resources, but that stopped pretty much after bootleg kicked off, and then everybody else got busy. So we got lucky kind of in how it worked out.
Yeah, I was wondering about where you were able to find resources that you pulled in. It's like, well, those weren't local. It's like maybe the monsoons hit earlier than I remember, but I don't know.
Some of it is that initial attack takes priority. So, us having those extra resources were only for initial attack and extended attack. And I think the region, in our discussions with the regional duty officers, it's one of those deals where if you give us a little bit of resources, and we weren't hoarding by any means, we were sharing across if we were sharing aircraft and anything else that we had if neighboring units got fires, Warren Springs included. But it was good business to keep resources here because we are good about sharing them and getting them out. And if we kept another large fire off the board, we were way ahead of the curve. So that's what we were shooting for.
Yeah. Those guys come up from the Arizona Strip area. Is that right, Kevin? Seems like in the past, that's where they came from.
We had some of our historic, folks come in from Arizona and stuff, but the monsoons did hold off a little bit past our peak time there. Like, again, I think, luck comes a lot into it. And the timing of our busy season was when resources weren't exactly tapped out here in Oregon, Washington. And then we were able to bring those resources in from out of region and storm here when the rest of the region got really busy. So it's all a little bit of good thinking ahead, a little bit of luck to be able to do that, for sure.
I guess last one, OSFM also brought some folks in early season. Did you guys end up using them much? I know we didn't. Luckily, we didn't have any conflagrations happen, right? But were they? You guys end up utilizing them any?
Or now, I don't know if you can remember. Ken's got something to say on that. I don't know if we, I think we just had them for Surge Force, but I don't know if we got to use them.
Yeah, I'm unaware if they got used on anything, so maybe Ken can answer that.
Yeah, we were kind of lucky to have state fire marshal resources as well as Coffman's resources that were augmented several times throughout the season. So local government resources through the state fire marshal's office got used twice. We had pre-positioned them here just before the Grandview fire, as weather was sort of tapering off when the Grandview actually started. They were in the demode process and heading back to their home unit, which is over in the western side of the state. We were able to keep some of those resources here for the IA period, at least the first 24-hour period of the Grandview fire. So we were lucky to have them. We also pre-positioned resources here during bootleg. And so we were able to turn them around because the weather pattern that we were concerned about and why we pre-positioned resources here didn't create any new starts. So we were able to cut some of those resources loose and share them with the bootleg fire, which was good. So I would say the combination of both those two things happening this year was fantastic. And Redmond Fire and Rescue was a direct beneficiary of the augmented resources that were available at the fairgrounds and the additional aircraft. We had a little vegetation fire just north of the interagency dispatch center there. So we were very happy to have them there. It was nice to see those seats flying nice and quick.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
For the question in the chat about lessons learned for next year, things to do same or different, we're at that time of year where we look back at what happened and try to capture those lessons learned and see things that we would do the same or different. I think one thing we as duty officers here in Central Oregon really found was helpful is when we do get busy, we basically set up, an operations section at Central Oregon Interagency Dispatch Center, where they manage those resources coming in. And using the fairgrounds again as a staging area just really puts it in a really good spot. You know, as far as having resources centrally located in Central Oregon, the problem is that you know, a normal year, the fairgrounds isn't available all summer long, and this year because of COVID, we had the fairgrounds fairly open, so we were able to utilize that. So. You know, we can find other places and things to do, but I think some of those lessons that we learned about being efficient and utilizing resources efficiently in extended attack. I mean, we've always been fairly efficient in our initial and extended attack. It's kind of a Central Oregon thing, but I think we got even better with it. The trouble is, you know, again, luck comes into play, and the lessons learned from plenty years past is it only takes one fire in a really bad spot. And I think of Millie when I think about it, you know, because I was duty officer at that time, and that fire being started where it was with the other fires that we had going on meant that fire had to take a lower, you know, a lower priority, because we had fires that were directly threatening lives and property. So if we ever get in that situation where you are, you know, prioritizing fires and one or another isn't getting taken care of, and it doesn't take too long to run out of fingers for the dike, that's when you have large fires on the landscape. Or in the case like what we saw down there and on Cougar Peak and on the Fremont Wainema, is that the fire, the behavior with the current conditions that we're sitting in with drought and extended drought, year after year drought, I'm getting tired of saying I've never seen that before. And you know, B&B took, you know, almost a month to go 90,000 acres, and we watched Cougar Peak do that really mostly in one shift. It took 3 days, but it did most of that burning in one shift. And if it's doing that, it doesn't matter how many resources we have. You're taking pictures and getting people out of the way, because really there's not much you can do with that kind of fire behavior.
I guess I would just kind of add on to, you know, lessons learned. I think just continue to build on the strong working relationships that we have locally here. And that's, you know, I think between the fire agencies, and that's, you know, not just alone with fire agencies, but, you know, commissioners and, you know, Project Wildfire and communities, you know, to be more resilient to what we're, you know, experiencing, and just really, you know, continue that strong relationship locally here, I think is key. The one other thing that comes to mind for me is, you know, and that I've been concerned about is just the human starts. You know, they do tend to happen pre-fire season or post-fire season, but, you know, just continuing to message the, you know, the need to be cautious when utilizing fire. So.
Could I make a comment? We had brought up on a Monday right before 4th of July about the fireworks ban, and the other two commissioners. It's to me a really powerful message, especially when you consider the heat we had in the month of June. So they didn't want to vote with me for that ban, for that message for our public. And so the next day, I think we had 4 fires the next day. Remember, we had the one next to the Redmond airport. There were a couple out in the Forest Service. And on Wednesday, everybody voted for a ban. It was short term, but at least I felt like it was an important message to give. And I'm just wondering, and I do think prayer, you know, you're talking about luck, and I'll say prayer because some people are praying that we don't have fires, especially when you see what the Butte Lake did. I mean, oh my gosh, the devastation there. Yeah, I know people that I think they're having to sell their whole herd, and they had 500 cows. I mean, this is really lifestyle changing. But I was actually talking to the team at the fairgrounds, and they were from Staten. Does that team that has been contracted to come over here, are they from different for fire departments, or does that stay, whatever team, did it stay there the whole summer?
So I don't know, the Staten makes me think that that was probably the OSFM team. And I don't think that they stayed the whole time. I think they rotated out.
They did the pre-positioned resources came over here with we did it twice this year. The first time they came over with the expectation of staying for just a 3-day period, because fire weather was sort of, popping up all over the state, and they were just going to move them here for a few days. They ultimately did not get utilized. The second time, though, we pre-positioned resources. They were coming over for, I think they were scheduled to be here for a week, and they did end up getting utilized. But most of those resources came from the west side of the Cascades. We did at one point have 2 strike teams come in from Utah, though. When drawdown got to a point that we couldn't get resources from anywhere within the state or from California or Washington, we brought 2 strike teams in, task forces, from Utah, and they were the ones that ended up going to the Grandview fire.
And then, Patty, just to add to some of that, right, I went down to the bootleg there for a couple of weeks. And the way that those teams rotate or work down there is, first it started off with, that fire was so large, they split it into 2 halves, a south zone and a north zone. And I worked on the south zone, and they committed a team to each one of those 2 zones that were an interagency team that generally manages those fires. And then along with that was one of the OSFM teams, which was compiled of all the structure departments from throughout Oregon and a few other various places like Chief Kim just mentioned there. And then those teams generally rotate on a 14-day schedule. And while I was there, I was with the ODF team, and we did transition a different team on the north half. So one interagency team transitioned with another interagency team. And then we also transitioned one of those OSFM teams as well. And then I think all those resources that Chief Kim was referring to, some of those stayed through those transitions working with those teams. If that clarifies any of that.
And Greg, looks like you've have a question there.
Okay, I'll unmute myself. Okay, I was just wondering, from prescribed fires, is there any way to figure out how that they have reduced the fire load, the acreage, and what are we going to do on prescribed fire? What are we going to be doing on prescribed fires in the coming year? Is it going to be more? I hope. That's all.
Probably, Kevin, question for you. And noticing a fair amount of activity this fall, even today.
Yeah. So this fall, we were a little bit mindful of the fact that people had eaten smoke all summer and didn't really go full strength into it. As far as fall prescribed burning goes, we also have a bunch of tired firefighters, and I'll say that my hand will be up on that as far as being exhausted after this season. My incident management team was out for 68 days, and those were all back to back. And I would say that was kind of the norm of most of the resources. So whether you were at home or out, it was a really busy year. So what we've done this fall is take advantage of just keeping the tempo down, but finding opportunities to get some good burning done. And we've been able to do it with the weather and be efficient in our operations so that folks are getting rest. So this week we're obviously burning. I think all 3 of the Deschutes units are burning, and the OCHCO is going at the same time. We're the only area in Oregon, Washington that has conditions to burn right now. Everybody else got enough moisture that they're looking at pile burning. So we're going after that. Right now, we're probably focused more again on restoration burning, which means a little bit farther out from the interface, mainly because people are tired of eating smoke, and we're probably going to give them a little bit of a break on it. next spring, the plan is to get back into our normal flow of prescribed burning, and there's definitely incentive to go, because we're getting well funded for it right now. We just received this year's funding, and everything's up across the board, and funding is great. It gives us some opportunities. The thing is that it doesn't give us any more prescription windows than what we get. We haven't been able to buy off the weatherman or the smoke forecaster yet. So those are the things that I'm a little concerned about. COVID a little bit also, if we're still in a mode where we're high in community spread, it could affect our burning, but I don't think that's where we're going to be. I'm hoping that's not where we're going to be. I think we will go into spring looking at, like we normally do with spring, our window's usually better for interface burning in the spring. And like I always say, I like to go for shock and awe at that time of year. It sets the tone. So go ahead and do those close to community burns, and let folks know, one, that it is fire season. Nothing says fire season better than a big white column right on the edge of town. But it also sets us up really well defensively for the summer. So that's where we will probably focus our effort, and we'll take advantage of what opportunities we get as far as prescription windows and smoke forecasting, because that's what we work around. But yeah, it should be something that everybody's striving for this year, for sure.
All right, thanks Kevin and Gordon. It looks like we might have gotten to the end of questions and discussion on that one. I would just add that more to come on human caused fires next month. We're going to be talking Central Oregon Fire Prevention Co-op next month on the agenda. So we'll be diving a little bit more into efforts around preventing human caused fires. So be looking forward to that. So thanks again. We're going to take a little bit of time and just do a quick roundtable. Don't have a ton of people to get through, so I'll just call on people, and if you have something to share with the group, that would be great. And I will just start going down the list. I guess it looks like maybe Bob, you're the top of my list. Bob Pulley. Hi,
Thank
Bob.
you, Ed. Thanks so much, Ed. Here at Mountain High, we're very pleased to announce that we were one of the recipients of the fuels reduction grant by the county, and thank you, county commissioners, for that grant. This year we applied for $2,300 and we were granted the $2,300. Last year we had $2,000 and we ended up investing a total of about $6,500 in our efforts last spring during the fire-free event and shortly after the fire-free event. So we're very pleased. The neighborhood is excited to have that opportunity again for fire-free in 2022. And that's about it. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Before I move down my list, I just want to mention then that Patty Gentilomo from Sun River shared with me that she just wanted to note Sun River is still working on ladder fuels reduction and thinning on their commons area. They usually were working on that until the weather tells them they can't anymore, as well as finishing up private property inspections that they do each year. And Patty, I will just share with you that there's another neighborhood, I referred them to you, that is interested in doing some private property assessments as well. And I thought you might serve as a model to them. So if you hear from Aubrey Butte, that's why. So moving down the list, Chris Paul, anything from State Fire Marshal's office to share?
Hey, good morning, everyone. So this will be my last meeting with Project Wildfire. We've started to build out our program, actually getting people hired. So Heather Miller, who's currently a volunteer with Sisters Fire, she's been with State Fire Marshal's office in the past. will be the fire risk reduction specialist for Central Oregon. I'm going to move over to what they're calling the East Coast of Oregon. So I'll allow all the way down through Malheur and Harney and Baker County and all that. So she'll be coming on board with this to help you guys and kind of continue on some of the stuff me and Boone have been talking about. So she'll be coming on November 1st. So she should be here at your next meeting. Beyond that, not really much new over to SFM, but we are, finally building out people in our community risk reduction program. So, end of report.
All right, thanks, Chris, and good luck with your new geographic assignment there. Yeah, I've been looking forward to those opportunities rolling out with State Fire Marshal. So we'll hope to get tied in with Heather Miller and hear about those as they come up. All right, moving down my list, Georgia Hill from Rigid Eagle Crest. Anything to share?
Yes, thank you. We also would like to thank grant money.
Georgia, your connection may not be very good. I'm not.
Is this better?
That's a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. We'd just like to thank the commissioners of Deschutes County for awarding us grant money, and we'll be using it next year to enhance our fire-free activities for fuel reduction. Thank you.
Okay, Gordon, you already had a chance, but anything that you didn't get to share yet for an update for ODF?
Yeah, I guess I would just say there's a lot of moving parts within ODF right now with surrounding Senate Bill 762. And I wanted to just say thanks, Boone, for sharing out the information on the mitigation work that the Salem staff's doing in the committee, working on that. And we'll try to share as much information as we can as it comes out. So, but looking for, there's a lot of money towards mitigation work. So there's going to be lots of opportunities coming up in regards to that. So just be prepared and aware, and we'll try to get information out as fast as we can.
All right. Yeah, it looks like Board of Forestry is set to approve our official definition of WUI for the state tomorrow, and then that that meeting that Gordon mentioned is on Monday evening from 6 to 8. If you all didn't see that, Boone or I can share that out with you. So that's to learn more about funding opportunities through Oregon Department of Forestry, Senate Bill 762. So, all right, who is next on my list? Anything from Deschutes River Woods, Greg?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for we got the grant approval, and I appreciate it from you guys and also from the commissioners. So thank you, and we'll be using it next spring. Thank you very much.
All right, Chief Kemna, anything from Redmond to share?
Yeah, you'll notice there's a new name on the call today, Tom Mooney. Tom Mooney is the new fire marshal for Redmond Fire and Rescue. We're super excited to have stolen him from the other side of the Cascades. So he's now going to make his home over here in Central Oregon. We're really excited to have him on board. It's the first time in quite some time that Redmond Fire and Rescue has had a fully staffed fire and life safety division. And we're in really good hands. So we're super excited. And you will be seeing him on this meeting going forward. So he'll be repping for us here at Project Wildfire. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chief. And Kevin, anything else from Central Oregon Fire Management Services to share?
No, I think I'm good. That's
okay.
Pretty good yakking for me for a day.
All right, just wanted to double check. Commissioner Adair, share.
Oh, I'm just hoping that they'll continue the way they did the fire-free split this year. I thought that was really excellent planning on the part of Tim, where some of it was at Knott, and then 3 weeks later it was out at all the fire, the transfer stations. So I'm hoping that we can do that again. I think that has been incredibly beneficial for our entire community for their personal responsibility. So, 3 weekends, 2 full weeks, and gives everyone a clear opportunity to clean up. So hopefully, Ed, we can bring that together, right?
I hope so. I'll be looking forward to a new solid waste director to work with. As for folks that don't know, our solid waste director has retired, and so we'll be looking forward to some new conversations as a new director comes on board.
Thank you.
Okay, moving down my list, Sean, Jack, welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Nothing to report. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Sean Hack. I work for Kevin Stock, and I'm in the position that was Vice Doug Johnson's position. So I just wanted to say good morning, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the pronunciation, but good to meet you, Sean. All right, Sheldon, anything from the BLM? Okay, we'll circle back to Sheldon if he comes back to us. Todd, how about anything from the Deschutes Soil and Water Conservation District?
Morning, everybody. So the only thing that I need to just report to everybody is we're continuing working with the Natural Resources Conservation Service and developing farm plans and inventory for the Joint Chiefs initiative, Buttes to Basin. So we're pretty busy up there in the Sisters area. We're also continuing to look at ways that we can help in South County as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have this morning.
Right, thanks, Todd. And Tom, you got an introduction from Chief Kemna, but anything to share?
Not at this point. I appreciate the warm welcome from Chief Kemna there. Sorry, I don't have a video yet. I'm waiting on the webcam to come. So hopefully next meeting you'll see my face. But looking forward to working with everyone.
Great, thanks for joining us. And Commissioner Bone.
Great, good morning, everyone. So a lot of thank yous about those grant dollars. That's pretty exciting. One of the things I think of is just any little pool of money for a neighborhood association or a community like that can be put to good use. And it's a sense of community, neighbors working with neighbors for that defensible space, resiliency to fire. So let's celebrate that, use it for its highest and best purpose, because we know there's a lot of big choices happening at the state also, big money coming down, but it really starts with every front door and back door being resilient to that fire. Another thought, it was so frustrating this summer with the smoke coming through, weeks on end, thick smoke. Remember, that was just a few weeks ago, and it wasn't even fires directly in our backyard. I mean, they were in Oregon and they were in the area. Thank you very much to all the firefighters out there, but what a frustrating summer with that smoke just flowing through for weeks on end. So hopefully we won't see that as a long-term trend, really figuring out that fuel reduction, resiliency, and low intensity fire. We all got to remember that's what we'd be looking for. On a personal note, our neighborhood, there's a couple folks real engaged, got one of these grants also. So thanks to the commissioners, which I'm one of them. But the exciting thing, we've been on our property about 17 years, I guess, more than 15. And we've got some healthy, tall ponderosas hiding out within the jack pines. And it's just funny, I found a couple of them. I'm gonna be opening those up, and it's gonna change the look of our property on the side here, just by having those pondos wide open. And for years, it's scary to cut down trees, obviously, but it's coming. So I'll take a before and after photo maybe and share it with the group. I'm looking forward to that. And then we talked about fuel reduction. Remember, commissioners are discussing supporting Mount Bachelor's effort for a rough chip boiler, hog fuel boiler at the Mount Bachelor facility. And if everybody hasn't heard about that, it's the concept of truly just dumping a truckload of rough chips on the ground. It has a walking floor, so it automatically kind of queues itself up, an auger going into a boiler. And talk about a great project. And when we need to see more of these. So I'm really excited to see this thing come online. It's not going to be this year, but maybe construction next year for a hog fuel boiler. And we probably need to see more of that in the world. And it's okay to burn trees. It's burned in the forest already. So, you know, there's the political message there. It's already burned in the forest if we don't do something with it. And it's only, you know, 100 or 200-year-old carbon, not ancient carbon from the ground. So those would be the talking points I would have about being able to put a boiler together. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see that come together there at Mount Bachelor. Hopefully a proof of concept that expands or provides opportunity for other smaller projects like that. So last but not least, unless I miss somebody, is Dean Richardson. Dean, anything to share from the Upper Deschutes area?
Yeah, good morning. Nothing from the Upper Deschutes river communities, but I just wanted to say that I'm one of those that's been praying from year to year that our area survives long enough for us to kind of get it together and have more resilient forests and become more fire adapted, especially in the wildland interface and in our communities. Thank you.
All right, last chance for anybody if I missed them. Otherwise, we'll end early today. Thanks everybody for joining us then. And like I mentioned, we'll be back in November planning to have a presentation around preventing human-caused fires from the Central Oregon Fire Prevention Co-op. So with that, everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.